I've tested a lot of smart locks for this channel, but nothing like this. The new Aqara U400 supports something called Ultra Wideband technology. It's the first lock available that supports Apple's hands-free UWB unlocking. And let me tell you, it is a true game changer. And that's not just YouTuber hyperbole. This thing has really changed the way my entire family uses our smart lock every day. And for the first time in quite a while, I am very excited about a new smart lock. My name is Shane, and this channel is all about building a simple, effective smart home with new videos and live streams every week. Big thanks to Aqara for sponsoring this video and sending me an early version of their new Aqara U400 Smart Lock so we could try out Apple's hands-free unlocking feature for the first time. So real quick, what is Ultra Wideband and what does this mean for smart locks? Apple's UWB unlocking feature was first announced alongside iOS 18 way back in June of 2024. And yes, this is the first lock that actually supports it. Ultra Wideband technology delivers high precision location tracking. It uses a UWB chip inside your iPhone, Apple Watch, and also one in your lock to determine the exact distance and direction down to the centimeter. Some other things you might be familiar with that use this technology are your HomePods and AirTags. When you bring your iPhone closer and closer to a HomePod, you know, it starts vibrating and then transfers audio from your iPhone to your HomePod. That's using Ultra Wideband. It's also what allows for that very precise tracking feature you get with your AirTags. UWB is designed for precise, secure, and real-time measurements of location, distance, and even direction. It offers, again, centimeter level accuracy, much more precise than something like Bluetooth, which smart locks historically would use for geolocation unlocking, you know, automatically unlocking the door when you arrive. Now, typically the way that works, you would have to exit Bluetooth range and then re-enter the zone in order for your lock to unlock. The range is much larger and not near as precise or responsive as Ultra Wideband, which is one of the reasons why I've never really used my location for unlocking my smart locks. Now again, Ultra Wideband is very different. UWB provides accurate distance and direction, allowing the lock to know exactly where you are relative to the lock. It detects you approaching from the outside within a few feet and can sense your intent to enter as you walk up to the door. UWB's highly accurate precision is critical for the lock to understand the user's intentions. For example, the U400 can determine if you're inside or outside of the door. You wouldn't want your door to unlock, you know, when you approach it from the inside. You never know who might be on the other side of that door, right? So with this feature, it will only unlock if you approach the door from the outside. And also because of this, it only unlocks when an authorized person approaches the door, so it's not going to unlock when you don't want it to, like when you're out messing around in the garden and stuff like that. This spatial awareness is to prevent unintentional unlocking and only provide access when you want it and when you expect it. And maybe the best part, you don't even have to pull your phone out of your pocket or anything like that, and it's fast, like crazy fast. So let's talk more about this new Aqara U400 lock. Of course, it supports UWB unlocking within Apple Home, but also unlocking via fingerprints, passcodes, Apple Home Key, and key fobs. The lock connects to your smart home through Matter over Thread, and it's Aliro ready, which is the new Matter standard for smart locks that's rolling out in 2026. That means this will work with any smart home ecosystem and is future-proof to support the latest standards. It also comes with a rechargeable battery that you can charge via USB-C, and it is said to get 6 months of usage on a single charge. The U400 is IP65 rated to withstand dust, splashes, and heavy rain. Inside the box, we have everything you'd expect from any smart lock. There's a mounting template and installation instructions. The back of the lock with the manual thumb turn. There's a USB-C port and a speaker on the bottom here. We have the front of the lock. You can slide the bottom plate down to access the physical keyhole. It has a matte finish for the keypad and fingerprint reader on the front. Also a USB-C port and speaker on the bottom here as well. Here is our rechargeable battery. We have our deadbolt and strike plate kit, 2 physical keys, and mounting plate and screws. And that is everything in the box. To install the lock, first remove your old lock, install the deadbolt using the 2 screws, secure the front of the lock onto the mounting bracket, sliding the tailpiece and the wires through, attach the 2 wires to the appropriate ports on the back of the lock, and secure that to the mounting bracket with the small screws. Pop in your battery, and you're basically done. Pretty standard installation as far as smart locks go. Now again, they do provide you with a strike plate kit that you can use on the door frame. I typically just see if the old one fits well. If the deadbolt can freely open and close for your new smart lock, you probably don't even need to replace that part, but it is important regardless whether or not you replace the strike plate on the door frame that the deadbolt can freely move in and out when the door is closed. Now to set up the lock, press the set button on the back of the lock to activate pairing mode. You can scan the Aqara pairing code on the top to bind the lock to the Aqara Home app. For Matter binding, you can scan the Matter code that's on the bottom here. To bind the device with Matter, open your third-party app like the Apple Home app, Google Home, Home Assistant, etc., and scan the Matter pairing code. You can pair the lock to multiple ecosystems. A Matter controller and Thread border router is required for binding the lock to Matter ecosystems. For example, a HomePod or an Apple TV would act as your Thread border router in the Apple Home ecosystem. Now I want to first bind mine to the Aqara app, and then I'll connect it to other ecosystems. That's what I did. Once the lock has been added in the Aqara app, you'll need to put in an administrator password. You can then add fingerprints if you wish. The app will then go through a quick calibration process. Now let's quickly run through the app and some of the features here. In the Aqara app, we can see the current state of the lock and whether or not the door is closed. You can also see the current battery level. Here you can connect the lock to an Aqara Matter controller or an Aqara hub. To use the Aqara app to control the lock remotely, you will need to do this. Now, you don't need to have an Aqara hub if you pair it to a Thread border router in another Matter ecosystem, like Apple Home or Home Assistant or something. But I do have an Aqara M3 hub at my house, so I connected mine to that. And this will also allow you to generate new Matter codes to share the device to other Matter ecosystems from the Aqara app. You have the ability to set up a one-time password. This could be nice to give a neighbor or someone easy access that will automatically expire after it's been used. Under user management, you can set up multiple users. For each user, you can configure multiple fingerprints, numerical passwords, and NFC key fobs that are sold separately. Here you can also set up users to only have access during specific days and times. This is good for, housekeepers, dog walkers, things like that. Then you have the log that can show you all the lock and unlock events and alerts. If we go here and look at more settings, we can set alerts to sound on the lock to let you know when the door was left unlocked or left open. Linked devices allows you to display other Aqara accessories like cameras within the lock's device screen. You can see here I have a G5 Pro at my house already set up, and I can link to the lock. If I do that, I'll see the camera on the lock's device page. I'll also still see whether the door is locked and if it's open or closed, battery level, all that good stuff. Back in the settings, you can adjust the lockout time, which specifies how long the keypad is disabled after 10 failed attempts. There is an auto lock feature, which I personally use. You can auto lock immediately as soon as the door is closed, or you can specify a time from 3 seconds up to 10 minutes after the door has been closed. It does say this is a lab feature, but I've been using it and it's been working extremely well for me so far. You can also choose to have it lock after it has been unlocked for a certain amount of time. You can customize the time of day in which auto lock performs. There's a do not disturb mode and some other security settings that can disable certain features during specific times if you want all that. A lot of features here you can set and configure, but let's go to the UWB settings. It says you need to enable UWB on other platforms first, which I've done, and I'll show you in a second, but this allows the lock to detect your position when you approach from the front, left side, and right side. There's also this double door mode, which I think is important for many people who have storm doors. And if you do, then you'll want to enable this to improve the UWB recognition. I do not have a storm door on the front of my door, so I wasn't able to test this, but I'm glad to see this here as an option because I know a lot of people do have these types of doors. Under third-party Matter ecosystems, you can generate the Matter pairing code here so you can connect the lock to other smart home ecosystems. And there is a separate connect button to connect to Apple Home. Now, during my testing, the Matter pairing code here in the Aqara app had trouble generating. So this is likely a bug if it's not just something that's exclusive to me in my experience. I'm not sure. This will probably be resolved by the time you're watching this, but either way, it really wasn't a huge deal for me. As you can see here, I was still able to connect my lock to multiple ecosystems, including Apple Home, Homey, and Home Assistant. I connected mine first to Apple Home by tapping the connect button here. Then once connected in Apple Home, I was able to share credentials from there to other ecosystems. So let's go ahead and take a look in the Apple Home app and see what features are available there. Of course, you can lock and unlock it from the Home app. And because of this, you can also use Siri to control the lock. It shows you the current battery level. You also have the ability to specify the approach direction here within the Apple Home app. So you can really tailor this to your specific needs and layout of your home. As with most Apple Home locks, you can also manage access here in the Apple Home app for all the residents and guests in your home. Now, there's also an automation lock option right here in the Apple Home app. And I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever seen this option for a lock in the Apple Home app. You can auto lock from 30 seconds up to 30 minutes once the door has been unlocked. And of course, you can use the lock in your HomeKit automations and scenes. And down here is where you can put the lock in pairing mode so you can connect it to other smart home ecosystems through Matter, which is what I did in order to connect mine to Home Assistant and Homey. Now, from my understanding, the unlock on approach using Ultra Wideband is an exclusive feature to Apple Home right now, so the lock does need to be connected to Apple Home to utilize this feature. You can use UWB unlocking with iPhones 11 and later, excluding iPhone SE and iPhone 16e, as well as Apple Watch Series 6 and later, excluding the Apple Watch SE. Now, on a daily basis, this lock has been incredible to use. I wasn't really sure how well that UWB hands-free unlocking would perform, but I can tell you it has been rock solid for me and a complete game changer, again, for the whole family. The first time my wife used it, she actually came inside and said, and I quote, "Oh, that's nice," which I don't think she said for any other smart lock that she's used. And we have used locks that support fingerprints, Apple Home Key, even palm vein unlocking and facial recognition, facial detection. But with every single one of these different options, I have to stop in front of the front door, pause for a second, and do something to unlock the door. With Apple Home Key, obviously you have to take your phone out of your pocket or you have to tap using your Apple Watch, which is still pretty convenient, but still something you have to do. Even with facial recognition, which I think is really cool, I always have to pause for a second or two in the right spot in front of the lock in order for it to get a proper scan of my face. And it's also pretty annoying if it doesn't get a good scan the first time. You're just like standing there waiting for the lock to scan your face. So all that, even if minor, is some sort of friction, and was enough friction for me that I just ended up using the fingerprint reader like 99% of the time on all of my smart locks, even with facial recognition when that's an option, just because fingerprints are always just faster and more reliable. Sometimes I do move pretty fast. I'm always forgetting something and have to run back inside the house to get whatever it was that I left. So just using my fingerprints has always just been the most effective for me personally. But Ultra Wideband Unlock on approach beats all that. UWB unlocking on this has been great. Even as I'm running up the stairs as fast as I'd ever go, the U400 unlocks as I approach the door, and it's ready to be opened as soon as I get there. So there's no need to pause at all. It's so responsive that it unlocks faster than I would be able to unlock the door with my fingerprint. Again, fingerprints have always been the fastest and my favorite way to unlock the door until now. Now, of course, because unlock on approach requires an ultra wideband chip in your iPhone or Apple Watch, you do have to have your iPhone with you or an Apple Watch. 9 times out of 10, I do have at least my iPhone with me. If not, I'm usually wearing an Apple Watch. But in the event that I'm not for some reason, I'll just use my fingerprint to unlock the door. And again, this lock does also support Apple HomeKey, which means you can tap to unlock using your iPhone or Apple Watch. I'll never need to use that really, thanks to UWB unlocking and the fingerprint scanning, but it is nice that it's an option if you want it. And since this is Aliro ready, which again is that new standard for smart locks coming very soon, you will be able to use that same tap to unlock feature like Apple HomeKey with compatible Android phones in the near future once Aliro officially rolls out. Now, as I said in the beginning of this video, I've tested a lot of smart locks and made a number of videos about them. I kind of lost excitement around smart locks recently because there's just so many and you know, there just wasn't much new and different, and I've been waiting on something like this to reignite that excitement, and the U400 has definitely done that. UWB unlocking has just been such a game changer that I can safely say I will not be using a smart lock on my front door ever again without this feature. It just works, and it really works so well with the U400 since I've been using it. Not once has the U400 unlocked unintentionally from the inside, which I think is really important. You know, approaching the lock from inside, it has never like falsely unlocked the door. I love that I can program fingerprints and passcodes as backups for everyone in the house or guest. And if all else fails, you can still just use a regular key if you need to. Matter over thread is great. That probably has something to do with the speed and responsiveness of this lock. The U400 really has everything that I'd want. I really can't think of anything bad to say about it. I suppose it would be nice if they provided you with like a backup battery, an additional one inside for a power reserve, or maybe a second rechargeable battery that you could swap out when it's time to charge it. I have seen some locks that provide that, but honestly, that's all kind of just nitpicking here. I do like that this one uses a rechargeable battery, and I really like that they also include a USB-C port for charging on the outside of the lock. So what I'll do is just simply plug in a power bank, hang it from the doorknob, let it charge overnight whenever the battery gets low, and I'm good to go. And that way I don't even have to remove the battery from the lock at all. So overall, it's just been great. I know I'm beating a dead horse right there, but I really am excited about this ultra wideband unlocking, and my wife really loves it too. The lock just magically unlocks when you walk onto the front porch. It's been awesome. Now the U400 is available to purchase now for $269.99 US. You can get it in black or silver. I'm also told that a satin nickel version and a shadow black version will also be available exclusively in Apple stores in late January. I'll put links below in the video description if you're interested, and if I'm able to get a discount code for you, I'll also include that down there as well. Let me know what you think about this new ultra wideband unlocking feature. There was a lot to cover with this lock specifically, so if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to respond. If any of this stuff was a little confusing, like Matter, Thread, border routers, all that stuff, I recommend checking out my Apple Home introductory video. I'll put a link to that right here on screen. It'll give you all the basic information you need to set up a solid smart home from A to Z, including a deeper explanation of many of the terms and protocols discussed in today's video. There's also another video on screen right over here that YouTube thinks you might like. Check it out, you won't regret it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.